Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have a subscriber who is going to share his encounter with a Sasquatch while he was very young. Before we get into that, a couple links. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch store to help the channel to continue to grow and go. All those links are in the description below. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook version, is available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. They were written by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. The links are in the description as well. Now, I've taken enough of your time. Let's get on with today's interview. Shall we? All right, tonight, guys, I have a subscriber with us. His name is Jeremy. Jeremy, how are you today?
Doing great today. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to come and share your experiences with us. Pretty much you know how I do my interviews. I don't direct anything. It's I just give you the floor and let you share. So that's what I'm going to do, my friend.
All right, good deal. Yeah, I was 8 years old when this encounter happened. We lived up in Avon, Indiana, and after the big blizzard, my stepdad wanted to move down to Mississippi where his brother lived, and so we sold our little farm up there and moved down there. And it's right outside of Columbus where the Tom Bigby and the Luxapalala Creek / river is located. And we rented a house there. I say the time period was probably around March in the spring. Fast forward to in June 8th was my birthday, and I turned 8 years old. And my stepdad got me a little XR75 dirt bike for my birthday. And I remember I'd go back and ride in the field, but I was still kind of scared to get back in the woods because I'd have to put it on a kickstand, start it, take off, and put the kickstand up. And I remember kind of getting in the gravel, and it kind of scared me a little bit. Well, fast forward, it was probably 2 to 3 weeks. My older sister and one of her friends was going to go horseback riding back towards the river. Now, at today's time period, the Tom Bigby and I think it's the Luxapalala State Park is located. If you look on the map, that's right where the property was located. I don't know if the people that we were renting the home from, I don't want to give their name, but if they owned that property at the time, but they owned quite a few hundred acres right there, and it was nothing but thousands of acres of woods. I remember when I was on my motorcycle, and my sister, she asked me if I wanted to go with them. And at first, I thought, the only thing I think about was when you got to go through the pasture, and you have to go through the woods, probably about a quarter mile through the woods, then the old logging road stops, then goes down a steep embankment, then goes up, and that's through the woods there too, and then up the riverbank. And I just, in the picture of my mind, all I could see was going down that steep embankment. And back then, I rode in shorts, no helmet, no nothing. That was the time period, I guess. But and in the picture of my mind, when my sister was asking me this, that's what I saw, and it kind of feared me. And at first, I told her no, that I wouldn't go. Well, it's probably about 45 minutes to an hour later. I remember I got the courage, and I thought, well, I'm going to catch up with them. And so I remember getting on my motorcycle. I went through the pasture, and I went through the woods, and I got to the end of the road there, and I stopped my dirt bike, and I looked down that embankment, and still today I can still see this perfectly. And I got scared because I thought, well, if I turn my dirt bike over, I said, I don't know how long my sister and them are going to come back through here, and they might even go another way, and I'll be back here for hours before anybody finds me. And because I was notorious for taking off through the woods and not showing up until dark. And so I remember as I stopped and I I got back on and I got off my motorcycle and I looked down the bank, but then I got back on the bike, and as I was turning the bike to go back out of the corner of my eye, I saw something step across the road, and I don't know if that time, if that really scared me, but it alerted me. I should say that it alerted me up, because in my mind I thought, what could step across the road that fast? And it was probably about 100 feet away from me. And so as I got the dirt bike straight back heading out towards the pasture, I could see the pasture. And as I looked to the left, as I went by whatever that was that I saw, it was probably about 20 to 30 yards inside the wood line. And it was 7 to 8 foot tall, and I never saw the face. And the shoulder span was, I'd say it was probably 3 to 4 foot. I'd say closer to 4 foot wide. I mean, it was huge, and it was covered in hair. And I remember I got so scared that I just full throttled the dirt bike, and I went, through the pasture, went through the gravel road, and as I got close to the house, I jumped off the dirt bike, and the dirt bike crashed into the house, and I went running into the house, and my mom's standing there in the kitchen, and I was screaming, "Mom, I saw Bigfoot, Mom, I saw Bigfoot." And I can still see her today. She looks down at me, and she started laughing. She said, "Oh, it's probably some of your sister's teenage friends, them boys back there trying to scare you," because I was a mean little fart. I'd go by them on my dirt bike, and I'd kick them, so that's what she thought it was. They were just trying to get me back. And but still to this day, throughout all these years, I would tell my family and friends, and they would all laugh and joke and said, "Oh, you're crazy. You didn't see nothing. Bigfoot's not real." And I said, "I'm seriously, as I'm looking at y'all today, if God was standing right here, I swear, I know what I saw." And through this pandemic, since last March, I've really been getting into watching series about Bigfoot and listening to your show, and I appreciate it so much. And it also takes me back to my mom and dad's from London, Kentucky, in the eastern the Appalachians. And my mom told me one time that my aunt was upstairs in her bedroom, and she looked down. She saw a man's face looking in the window. Well, to note that window was probably 9 foot tall from the ground. Now, on the side is a hill, and I used to play with my Tonka trucks right there. And I would always think as a little boy, I was like, how could a man looking in that window, unless he was on a ladder or standing on the hill bank? But if you stand on the hill bank at night, it was like pitch black out there. You couldn't see it. And my grandpa always said, you always carry a gun with you at all times out through here. And my mama, she'd always say at nighttime, when in the summer when I go down to visit them, she would say at dark, she'd say, "Come on, we need to go inside. The boogers are out here." And listen to a lot of these stories the last 9 months, and that was one of the things that they called those creatures in the Appalachians with boogers. And it all kinds of comes together now.
Yeah, yeah. Like when I had Coonbo on, Tim Coonbo Baker, and where he lived in Alabama, there was a place quite close to his home where he grew up called Booger Bottom. And he always thought, growing up as a kid, Booger Bottom was a strange name until he finally realized that these creatures were called boogers back then, and down in certain areas. And it's pretty amazing that they named land after a Sasquatch.
Right. Yeah. A lot of the natives would call them the tribe of people that live deep in the woods.
Yep.
And and I know there's a lot of activity in northern Mississippi and northwest Alabama. I live in North Mississippi, and in West Tennessee, all through that area, right through there, there's still a lot of encounters and sightings.
Yeah, Taylor, Mississippi is just a massive hotspot for all sorts of encounters out that way. And did your sister, and her friend, they didn't see anything that day strange
No,
or nothing.
no, they didn't see it all. But when they got back, and I told her, I can still remember my sister screaming, "Oh my gosh!" Because my sister, she kind of was 5 years older than me, and she kind of was my protective, watch after me, because I was a wild little fart, I should say, mean little crap. So she kind of protected me, but she knew I was telling the truth.
Right.
And that's why she started screaming. It was so close. It was so, and that's about the time, the Boggy Creek and all that, the movie come out, and all that. And so she knew I was telling the truth. She's the only one that believed me.
Yeah, that's crazy, and it's just like she said, it's close, I mean, you were that close to get back to your house that quickly, and that's insanity. Did you ever go riding out that way after? I mean, were you always looking over your shoulder?
Well, what I did, that was the summer before I went into the third grade, and I went for about 6 weeks. Some of the people that we rented the house from, their grandsons, they had a tree house back there in the woods before you got to that spot.
Mm-hmm.
And for about 6 weeks before I got caught, on Wednesdays I would skip school. I'd go behind. We lived about 8 miles off the road, and I would hide behind the church and wait for Mom to go to work. And I'd stop back by and get crackers. And I grew up with a German Shepherd, and I think he was my protector over a lot of things. I'm not getting snake bit, but I'd go back out there. And I remember one time on Wednesdays I would go and skip school, then go in the tree house and stay most of the day, and then kind of explore around there. But I remember one time that it was so strong that I felt like something was watching me. When you get like that fear. And I remember Hitler, that was his name. He was a German Shepherd, retired police dog. And I remember him barking. And I remember climbing down out of the treehouse and walking back to the house. And until I got caught, my older sister told on me for skipping school. But that was the only other time that I really remember anything. It was just, it's kind of a weird of a dark fear of like a depression of, somebody's there, but you can't see them.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's always, I think that they purposely do that. Just a couple of days ago, I covered the Russian scientist who was studying Bigfoot, and she believed that was kind of like their protective mechanism, that they could kind of instill a fear into us, and then they had the ability to not really disappear, but make themselves kind of not seen, just kind of go behind a tree and boom, they're gone. And I think they do, with it might not even be ultrasound, or the frequency may be so low that we don't even hear it, and it's just generated to us that, a way to frighten us or a way to protect themselves from us, who knows?
Right, yeah. And, like you said, with them hiding, in northern Mississippi, especially over where we lived in eastern North Mississippi, in Columbus, you got, so the pine thicket, the wood is just so thick at the time, especially green, and they're camouflaged so well. And, when I went by my motorcycle and I looked into there, it was just like it didn't disappear, but it walked so fast, and through the growth of the trees and everything, it was just kind of camouflaged into everything. You couldn't see it. And which I went by it really so fast. I don't know if it was that, or I went by it so fast on my motorcycle because I was scared.
Right.
But it had, I remember it was kind of a grayish, reddish, brownish, long hair.
Okay. Did you? No, you didn't see its face, but
no.
Look,
face at all.
how did you see it when it ran? Like as it moved? How the arms moved?
Yeah,
or
yeah. When I remember the arms, the hands were like to the knees or below the knees. I remember that. And like I said, when I went by my motorcycle, I went because I knew something was there. I just, when I turned the motorcycle and I saw something step across the road, I knew something was there until I actually looked on it with both eyes when I went by it and realized that it was extremely large.
mm-hmm.
And at that time, there's no bear activity over there. Not that I know of, anyway. And in '78, I guess just the fear hit me so fast that I hit the throttle and I got out of there.
Yeah.
And but as far as I don't remember the arms waving. I don't remember that at all. I just remember the length of the arms and how wide the shoulders were and the color of it and how tall it was.
I mean that's just creepy enough, and the color pattern is just, they're definitely not a soft and cuddly creature.
No, they're not. No, these creatures are extremely massive. And I was working back in October, November out in Albuquerque, and I was working with a native Navajo. And I don't even know where I brought the subject up. I said something, because I know there's a lot of skinwalk, all kinds of activity goes on out there. And I said something, I said, "Do you believe in Bigfoot?" And he looked at me real stern. He said, "Yeah, why?" And I don't know if you know anything about them, but you don't talk about skinwalkers, right?
Right, yeah, you don't know.
Yeah. And he looked at me, he said, "Yeah, why?" I said, "Well, I had an encounter when I was 8 years old in Mississippi." And he looked at me, he said, he's from the New Mexico, right there on the border, whatever that the little tribe is right there, the village right through there, that group. He said that that they had spotted one back in the summer trying to steal a sheep off one of the native ranchers out there. That one was spotted.
That's crazy.
And I thought, wow. Yeah. And down the road, I forgot the name of that little town. Supposedly, it's on the internet where they had found a body by a lake down there. And they've got a restaurant, the Bigfoot restaurant, which I didn't get a chance to go down there. But
now this is what, in New Mexico, in Albuquerque?
In New Mexico.
Yep.
Yeah, right south of Albuquerque is where they found that one. Supposedly they found the body of one.
Yeah, I read about that. I did read about that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And I don't think that they're getting overpopulated. I think we as humans are moving more into rural areas and deeper into the into the wood lines and the forest country to where we're pushing them out of their habitat. Yeah,
we're encroaching on their land. It's
right.
It's pretty sad. We at first we pushed the Native Americans out, and then we pushed a lot of Native American tribes call them, like you said, the men of the woods.
Right.
The true ancestors. My aunt actually, that lives on the reservation in northern New York, she refers to the Sasquatch as like the first people, and that's what she, I know what she's talking about when she says that, and it's interesting that they have so much respect for them because they know what they are capable of. They're
right.
And a lot of people don't realize that they're, not friendly. The Hollywood has kind of made them into something they're not. They're a wild animal, possibly. We don't really know, but I consider them a wild animal.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I agree with you.
That, you don't tame a wild animal. And if it's scared, it's going to attack. If it's hungry, it's going to attack. Or if
Right.
it's cornered, or you're screwing with their young or family, they're going to attack. So,
Exactly. Yeah. Or like you said, protect their area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's their home. We're invading their home.
Yeah. I mean, it's what would we do? What would you do if some guy or a bunch of people came with a bulldozer to your property? You're gonna go out with whatever you have in your hand and protect your land.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
it's just because they live in the woods and they build shelters out of sticks or live in caves doesn't make it any different, I don't think.
Right. I agree with you.
So, well, I appreciate you sharing your encounter. Do me a favor before we end the interview. Don't hang up. I want to talk to you for a minute afterward. Is there anything that you'd like to say before we end the interview?
Well, I just thank you for letting me tell my story. I really appreciate it. I'm 50 years old now. That happened when I was 8, and I just want to. I've been addicted to your show since this Corona stuff broke loose. And my wife yells at me, "Get off Facebook!" Get off YouTube.
I appreciate it. I really do.
Well, I appreciate you. Doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, and have a good day.
All right, you too, Jeff. Thank you.
Wow, guys, what a super nice guy. Reached out to me, and I read his encounter, and I said, I'd really like to have you on to share this with us, and he agreed, and I really like that. I love having people on so they can share their encounters in their own way. I don't mind narrating, but I think it's more authentic when someone is given the platform to just share, and I'm not directing anything, and they're just, it's in their own words and how they want to tell it, and I think that's the best way. And Jeremy was a super nice guy. Talked to him for a little bit after, and just a real decent dude. So I really hope you guys enjoyed today's interview as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. And with that, I'm going to bid y'all farewell and see ya!